Hi everyone. Welcome aboard one of the most iconic warships in French naval history, the aircraft carrier Clemenceau, hull number R98. Commissioned in 1961, Clemenceau was the sixth aircraft carrier to serve in the French Navy and the lead ship of her class. Over her 36-year career, she became a true cornerstone of France's maritime power, sailing over 1 million nautical miles during more than 3,000 days at sea. Equipped to carry and deploy nuclear munitions, and later modified to fire nuclear-capable missiles, Clemenceau wasn't just a symbol of French engineering, she was a strategic asset in the Cold War era and beyond. From the waters of the Mediterranean to the skies over the Gulf, the Clemenceau played key roles in major military operations, including the Lebanese Civil War, the Gulf War, and missions over the former Yugoslavia. This mighty vessel was named in honor of Georges Clemenceau, the legendary French statesman who led the country through the final years of World War I. Known as the Tiger for his fierce resolve, Clemenceau played a crucial role in securing victory and shaping the post-war peace. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the design and layout of this formidable aircraft carrier, exploring how it was built to meet the demands of a changing world, both politically and technologically. The design of Le Clemenceau was a bold step in re-establishing France's naval aviation capabilities after World War II. Rather than continue relying on surplus American and British carriers, France chose to chart its own course, developing a new class of multi-role aircraft carriers tailored to its strategic needs. Drawing inspiration from American designs, her layout followed the catabar configuration, short for catapult-assisted takeoff but arrested recovery, but executed on a smaller, more compact scale. Her overall flight deck stretched 265 meters long, with a landing area 165.5 meters by 29.5 meters, angled at 8 degrees to allow simultaneous launch and recovery operations. The forward catapult was mounted to port at the bow, while the aft catapult was placed diagonally on the angled flight deck, maximizing efficiency during high-tempo air operations. Aircraft movement was handled by 2 elevators, the forward elevator to starboard, and a rear deck edge elevator that freed up precious space within the hangar. Speaking of the hangar, it measured an impressive 152 meters in length and up to 24 meters in width, with a 7-meter overhead clearance, providing enough room to accommodate a diverse air-wing of fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. One of the more distinctive features of Clemenceau was her armament. For a carrier of her size, she was heavily armed, a reflection of Cold War threats and operational doctrine. However, these armaments, combined with a compact hull, introduced stability issues early in her service life. To address this, the hull was later bulged, improving her seakeeping and overall balance. Over her long career, Clemenceau underwent several important refits to keep pace with evolving threats and technologies. A major overhaul between 1977 and 1978 saw improvements across the board. Then, from 1985 to 1987, she received significant defensive upgrades, including the removal of 4 100mm guns and the installation of 2 Crowtail surface-to-air missile launchers. Her strike capabilities were also modernized. In 1978, Clemenceau was modified to enable the deployment of nuclear-capable AN-52 bombs by carrier-based aircraft. And in 1993, she was upgraded yet again to carry the Air Sol Moyen Portée, ASMP, missiles, a key element of France's airborne nuclear deterrent. The design of Clemenceau was the result of years of research and naval engineering conducted under the supervision of the French Directorate of Naval Construction, or Direction des Constructions et Armes Navales, DCAN. In 1953, the French Navy issued a formal requirement for a new class of fleet carriers. After careful planning and design revisions, the keel of the lead ship, later named Clemenceau, was laid down on the 17th of January 1955 at the Brest Naval Arsenal. Construction was overseen by a team of experienced engineers and naval officers who faced the daunting challenge of integrating new technologies into a relatively compact hull. Despite its smaller size compared to U.S. supercarriers, the vessel had to support jet aircraft operations, advanced electronics, and heavy armament. The building process moved swiftly. By the 21st of December 1957, just under 3 years after the keel was laid, Le Clemenceau was launched into the waters of the Brest harbor. The ship's sponsor, Madame Charbonneau, wife of the French Minister of Public Works at the time, officially christened the vessel. Following its launch, Clemenceau underwent extensive fitting out and sea trials to test her propulsion, flight operations, and combat systems. These evaluations paved the way for her formal commissioning into the French Navy on the 22nd of November 1961. After entering active service in 1961, the aircraft carrier Clemenceau quickly became a central figure in French naval operations throughout the Cold War era. In early 1962, less than a year into her commission, Clemenceau took part in one of her first major international operations, NATO exercise Big Game. Held from January 12 to February 5 in the Western Mediterranean, the carrier operated alongside the United States Sixth Fleet, fulfilling the role of an anti-submarine warfare platform. It was a critical test of France's post-war naval aviation capabilities and a demonstration of interoperability with NATO forces. Just weeks later, from March 9 to April 2, she joined another NATO drill, Dawn Breeze 7, this time in the strategically vital waters around Gibraltar. One of the more somber chapters of her early service came in January 1968, when Clemenceau joined the search effort for the lost French submarine Minerve, which had disappeared just 25 nautical miles off the coast of Toulon. Despite extensive efforts at the time, the submarine remained missing for over 5 decades. It was not until July 22, 2019, that French Defense Minister Florence Parly announced the discovery of the wreck, finally bringing closure to a long-standing naval mystery. Later that same year, Clemenceau was dispatched to the South Pacific for a very different kind of mission, one that would cement her place in the history of nuclear deterrence. As the flagship of Force Alpha, a powerful fleet of over 40 warships, Clemenceau oversaw and supported French nuclear testing in Polynesia. Among these tests was Operation Canopus, the detonation of France's first hydrogen bomb, a defining moment in the nation's emergence as a nuclear power. In 1968, Le Clemenceau was chosen to play a central role in one of the most significant and controversial military operations in modern French history, Operation Canopus, the detonation of France's first hydrogen bomb. This operation was a pivotal moment in the development of France's nuclear deterrence program. After successfully testing atomic bombs in previous years, the French government under President Charles de Gaulle aimed to take the next step, developing a thermonuclear weapon, far more powerful than anything previously achieved. The test site was located in French Polynesia, on the remote atoll of Fangataoufa in the South Pacific Ocean. To oversee and secure the operation, the French Navy launched a massive deployment of ships under the code name Force Alpha. At the heart of this force was the aircraft carrier Le Clemenceau, serving as the flagship of the operation. The scale of the deployment was unprecedented in French naval history. Over 40 ships were sent to the region, representing more than 40% of the total tonnage of the French Navy at the time. Clemenceau was tasked with command and coordination, as well as the monitoring of atmospheric conditions and aircraft operations related to the test. On August 24, 1968, the moment arrived. A hydrogen bomb with a yield of approximately 2.6 megatons was detonated high above Fangataofu Atoll. Codenamed Canopus, the explosion marked France's entry into the exclusive club of nations possessing thermonuclear weapons, alongside the United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and China. It was the most powerful detonation ever carried out by France, and it was a clear declaration of strategic independence and global military stature. Clemenceau's participation in Operation Canopus highlighted her role not just as an aircraft carrier, but as a key instrument of France's national defense strategy and nuclear doctrine. This event would shape French military policy for decades and confirm the strategic vision of Charles de Gaulle, a fully autonomous nuclear force, the force de frappe, capable of defending French interests without reliance on foreign powers. In the mid-1970s, Clemenceau once again demonstrated her strategic versatility during a series of operations off the coast of East Africa, in the waters of the Indian Ocean. These missions, known as Operation Saphir I and Operation Saphir II, were carried out between 1974 and 1977, and were directly tied to France's geopolitical interests in the Horn of Africa, particularly in support of the newly independent territory of Djibouti. At the time, Djibouti, a former French colony then known as the French territory of the Afars and the Issas, was moving steadily toward full independence, which would eventually be declared in 1977. As political tensions and regional instability grew, fueled by rivalries between neighboring Ethiopia and Somalia, and the strategic significance of the nearby Bab el-Mandeb Strait, France sought to ensure a smooth transition and to maintain influence in this critical maritime corridor. To that end, Clemenceau was deployed as the flagship of French naval forces operating in the Indian Ocean. In Operation Saphir I, launched in the mid-1970s, the carrier provided air cover, surveillance, and logistical support to French forces stationed in and around Djibouti. Her air wing conducted regular patrols and reconnaissance missions, ensuring regional stability and showcasing French naval presence in an area vital to international trade and oil transport. As tensions flared again in the lead-up to independence, Operation Saphir II was launched. During this phase, Clemenceau played a more prominent and visible role. She served as a mobile command platform and a deterrent force, with her complement of strike aircraft and helicopters standing ready to respond to any regional threats or disruptions. France was sending a clear message: it would honor its responsibilities to protect its interests and support its allies in the post-colonial era. Clemenceau, with her seasoned crew and proven capabilities, embodied that commitment. By the early 1980s, the Lebanese civil war had escalated into a brutal and chaotic conflict, drawing in multiple factions and foreign powers. Against this backdrop of growing instability in the eastern Mediterranean, France deployed the aircraft carrier Clemenceau in support of international peacekeeping operations and to protect French interests in the region. Her primary engagement during this period came under the codename Operation Olifant. Operation Olifant was launched as France reinforced its commitment to the multinational force in Lebanon, MNF, which had been tasked with helping stabilize the country following Israel's 1982 invasion and the withdrawal of the PLO from Beirut. Tensions on the ground were extremely high, with regular attacks against peacekeeping forces and mounting threats from various militant groups. In this volatile context, Clemenceau served as a floating base of operations, projecting French air power into the region and offering critical logistical and aerial support to troops stationed in Lebanon. Her embarked air wing, consisting of Super E-tendered strike aircraft and E-tendered IVP reconnaissance jets, conducted reconnaissance flights, maritime patrols, and were on standby for rapid air support missions. Beyond her air capabilities, Clemenceau provided a command and control platform for naval operations in the area, ensuring that France could react swiftly to any developments on the ground. Despite the challenging environment, Clemenceau's deployment under Operation Olifant marked a successful demonstration of carrier-based force projection in a complex political and military theater. It reaffirmed the vessel's importance not only as a combat ship but as a tool of diplomacy, deterrence, and crisis response. In the final years of the Iran-Iraq War, the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman became increasingly dangerous. Oil tankers, merchant ships, and even naval vessels were targeted in a brutal war of attrition between two regional powers. Global shipping routes were threatened, and the world's major maritime powers were forced to respond. Against this backdrop of rising tensions, France launched Operation Promethee, and once again, the aircraft carrier Clemenceau was called into service, this time to help secure vital sea lanes in the Gulf of Oman and project French naval power in one of the world's most strategic and volatile maritime theaters. Between 1987 and 1988, Le Clemenceau formed the centerpiece of the French naval group deployed in the region. The mission was part of a broader international effort to ensure freedom of navigation, protect French merchant vessels, and monitor the conflict's spillover into international waters. As part of Operation Promethee, Clemenceau's air wing carried out aerial patrols, surveillance missions, and escort operations for civilian ships transiting the dangerous waters near the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point critical to global oil supply. Her Super E-tendered strike aircraft and E-tendered IVP reconnaissance planes monitored both Iranian and Iraqi naval movements and stood ready to intervene should French interests come under threat. In addition to air operations, Clemenceau coordinated closely with other French and Allied warships in the area, helping establish a maritime security perimeter in international waters. Operation Promethee was also a significant test of Clemenceau's operational capabilities during a period of heightened geopolitical tension. The carrier and her battle group operated thousands of kilometers from home, sustained over long deployments in hot and hostile conditions, a testament to the endurance, versatility, and training of the French Navy. Le Clemenceau served as the flagship of the Promethee battle force, officially designated as Task Force 623. This powerful naval formation operated in the Gulf of Oman, a region critical to the world's oil supply and increasingly threatened by naval skirmishes and attacks on merchant shipping. The task force was composed of several key French naval assets. Alongside Clemenceau, there was the mine countermeasures support ship Loire, as well as 3 Durance-class replenishment tankers, Mers, Var, and Man, ensuring sustained operations far from French shores. Task Force 623 was a symbol of France's commitment to global maritime security. But Clemenceau's operational service didn't end there. In 1990, as the world responded to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, Le Clemenceau was once again deployed to the Gulf region. This time, she played a critical logistical and strategic role during Operation Desert Shield and the subsequent Operation Desert Storm. Escorted by the missile cruiser Colbert and the replenishment tanker Var, Clemenceau transported a massive contingent of equipment to support coalition forces. Aboard her flight deck and in her hangar, she carried 40 military helicopters, including SA-341F, SA-342 Gazelles and SA-330 Puma utility helicopters, essential for troop transport, medical evacuation, and reconnaissance. In addition, she ferried 3 Breguet BR.1050 Alizé maritime patrol aircraft and an array of military trucks and logistical support vehicles. From 1993 to 1996, Clemenceau entered the final chapter of her distinguished career, once again proving her value in modern naval warfare and peacekeeping operations. During this period, she played a key role in combat operations and aerial patrols over the former Yugoslavia, as the region was engulfed in one of the most violent and complex conflicts in post-war Europe. Her first major engagement came under Operation Balbuzard, a French naval mission aimed at supporting United Nations forces during the protracted Yugoslav wars. Operating in the central Mediterranean and Adriatic Sea, Clemenceau's air group conducted reconnaissance flights, enforced no-fly zones, and provided air support for ground-based UN peacekeepers striving to stabilize the region. Following Operation Balbuzard, Clemenceau was once again deployed to the Adriatic Sea as part of Operation Salamandre. This mission continued the French Navy's contribution to NATO-led efforts to enforce United Nations Security Council resolutions, including maritime embargoes and airspace control over the war-torn region. Operating alongside other NATO naval and air forces, Clemenceau's deployments demonstrated the adaptability of her aging but still capable air wing. Her superintended attack aircraft and reconnaissance planes flew numerous sorties in a theater where air superiority and rapid response were crucial. These deployments to the Adriatic marked the last operational combat missions of Clemenceau's long career. As the clouds of conflict slowly lifted over the Balkans, the ship returned to Toulon with the legacy of a vessel that had not only defended French interests but had also helped protect peace and security on the broader global stage. After more than 3 decades of dedicated service to the French Navy, Clemenceau, R98, was officially decommissioned in 1997. Her retirement marked the end of an era, not just for France's naval aviation, but for Cold War-era carriers across the globe. In 2003, the French government decided to recycle the ship abroad, which sparked significant controversy. The carrier was sent to India in 2006 for dismantling at the Alang shipbreaking yard, but after widespread criticism from environmental organizations, legal challenges, and international pressure, the vessel was recalled to France before being dismantled. Finally, after years of delay, Clemenceau was towed to the Able UK yard in Hartlepool, England, where her dismantling began in 2009 under strict environmental controls. The process was labor-intensive and took months to complete, but it ensured that hazardous materials were properly managed and that recyclable materials were recovered safely. Thus, one of France's most iconic carriers met her end not in battle, but in careful disassembly, her steel repurposed, her systems decommissioned, and her legacy forever etched in naval history. Photos of the model aircraft carrier Clemenceau, R98, were kindly provided by its creator, Sébastien Berty from France. If you wish to get in touch with him, his contact information is listed in the video description. The model represents the ship after its major overhaul in 1986, which changed its appearance by integrating surface-to-air missile systems on the forward and aft sponsons. The scale of the aircraft carrier model is 1:200, and its length is over 1.3 meters. The model is built with a partially wooden hull, with frames, and plastic profiled plating. It is a multi-material model incorporating wood, paper, metal, resin, and more. The air fleet is also a personal creation, with a prototype made for each aircraft model. Each prototype was then molded so the same aircraft could be reproduced multiple times. The model accurately represents the Clemenceau aircraft carrier in its state between 1987 and 1988 during the French military operation in the Persian Gulf amid the Iran-Iraq War. The goal of the French Navy at that time was to ensure the safety of commercial maritime transport in this high-tension zone. The carrier remained in the region for nearly a year, with stops in Djibouti. Thanks for watching.